Rack focus. Hey everybody, Johnny O from the Plot Hole, and it's time for Unpopular Opinions, episode 17. Yay! Unpopular opinion number 1. The Beatles were the greatest rock band ever. Until John Lennon met Yoko Ono. Regardless of what you think about the Beatles, we can all agree that Yoko Ono's squawking in a microphone is about as musical as, farting in a shoebox. How am I supposed to appreciate Yoko Ono's art when literally anybody can do what she does and make it sound exactly the way she makes it sound? It's not musical in any way, shape, or form. There's no aesthetic appeal. Nothing. It's garbage. It's crap. And I'm not usually so critical on people's music. In fact, if I were to agree to torture, it would be playing Yoko Ono's whatever we're going to call it on a loudspeaker on a loop over and over and over again. How can anyone listen to this nonsense and think, hey, we got something here. It's pretty entertaining. I gotta say, it's pretty talented. They couldn't and didn't until John Lennon gave us this performer. So yes, I blame John Lennon and the Beatles for introducing us to the world's worst and most nonsensical performer. Thanks, John. Unpopular opinion number 2. Schools should be required to spend 4 times as much as they do on sports on education. I live in Texas, and football, that's football, not soccer football for my non-American friends, is king. Independent school districts such as McKinney and Aledo have spent millions of dollars on football stadiums. McKinney recently passed a bond that allowed $50.3 million for a high school football stadium. $50.3 million. Do you know how many textbooks, pens, pencils, library services, after-school programs, technology, etc.? Do you know how much that would pay? $50.3 million. You know how much that would pay for? Keep in mind that McKinney already had a stadium that seated 12,000 people. By the way, $50.3 million wasn't the total cost of that stadium. They took an additional $17 million plus from a previous bond to add to the $50 million they already had. And this isn't an outlier. Many independent school districts in Texas alone have spent well over $30 million on football stadiums. This is commonplace amongst high schools all over the states. I think my European friends call high school secondary school. Correct me if I'm wrong. Look, I agree that sports are important and should get a certain amount of funding, but do we really need $68 million for a football stadium that not everybody's going to use? Wouldn't that money be better spent on sports medicine, equipment, etc.? Or better yet, education. The reason why we go to school in the first goddamn place? Yes, overspending on needless bullshit like football stadiums pisses me off. And who are these stadiums built for anyway? It sure isn't the entire student body. Most will never play on those fields. Arguably, more than half won't attend a sports game or any other event at these stadiums. These gaudy monsters are provided by school board members thinking that it's going to give them some sort of legacy for years to come. And maybe it does. But what kind of legacy are we leaving? Wouldn't we rather leave one that promotes education? Seriously, $60 million on a football stadium. And we wonder why we're last in math, science, history, reading, writing, etc. Forcing schools to spend 4 times as much on education as it does sports will curb overspending on crap that doesn't benefit the entire school body. And maybe, just maybe, we'll put the focus back on education where it belongs. Unpopular opinion number 3. All drugs should be legalized. I said it. And before you dismiss my statement as he's just a guy who wants to get high legally, know this. I very rarely take any drugs. I never take drugs recreationally, and very rarely do I take them medically. And no, I'm not talking about Chief or any other shit. I'll take like an ibuprofen for my back. Yes, we should end the prohibition on all drugs. Ending the futile war on drugs in the States will save $80 billion just in the United States alone. You know what we could do with $80 billion? There are a lot of things that we could fund with that. After school programs, drug rehabilitation programs, a whole shit ton of stuff that'll work far better than the war on drugs has. Let's take a look at the 20s prohibition on liquor and beer. Did we see a sharp decline in consumption? No. Did we see a huge spike in violence, particularly gun violence? Yes. Did we also see the birth of the mafia as we know it today? Yes. Why do you think that is? Other countries, such as France, that ended prohibition on drugs saw drastic reductions in addiction rates, crime, and death by overdose. How can that be? Maybe it's because these places took their focus off of a legal issue and put it onto a health issue. And no, most of these countries aren't free-for-all where drugs are consumed at every single corner. France has dedicated areas for people to use. Providing these people with health services instead of shackles has greatly reduced addiction and crime rates. So yes, let's end the prohibition on drugs. Finally, a popular opinion. At least this better be a popular opinion. We need to institute taxes on churches, especially mega churches like Kenneth Copeland's Eagle Mountain Ministries, also known as Copeland Ministries, and Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church. I've heard some of the most ridiculous arguments against taxing churches, such as, well, it violates separation of church and state. Poor people will lose services if churches have to pay taxes. And forcing churches to pay taxes puts religion above government. To all this, I say, bullshit. Allowing churches the largest tax break outside of corporate tax breaks in America is the exact opposite of separation of church and state. Why are mega ministers like Copeland, Osteen, Creflo Dollar, Jesse Duplantis, etc. allowed to leech off of those who don't believe in a higher power? Giving churches a huge tax break forces atheists and non-believers to subsidize religion, something that would get huge backlash if it were the other way around. Furthermore, allowing churches a tax-free ride means that everybody has to fund all churches, including mosques, synagogues, Church of Satan, etc. Are Christians good with paying taxes for the Church of Satan? Taxing churches will remove services from poor people. Will it though? Taxing churches will provide a huge increase in local, state, and federal income, which will give us the funds needed to provide services such as food banks, work-study programs, etc. In fact, taxing churches will remove the selective nature in serving poor people. I've worked church organized bread lines before, and I see the pressure that gets put on people who need basic services or basic things to live, food, water, shelter, clothing, etc. The push for religion is huge. That turns off a lot of people. And let's not forget that these mega pastors have 2, 3, sometimes 4 private jets. You mean to tell me they can't give up some of that luxury in order to pay taxes so that everybody can have some services? They can afford to pay taxes to provide for the poor and not lose too much of their comfort. And for the claim that it puts government above religion? Good. Government should be above religion. The government is supposed to represent all, not just those who believe in a higher power. In no way should religion have the same authority as the government. Religion serves those who believe in whatever doctrine provided by said church. The government provides services for the entire population. At least they have more of an obligation to do so. Don't think so? When's the last time you saw Joel Osteen building freeways that served other people and not just his church? Giving tax breaks to churches? That is a huge violation of separation of church and state. Get religion out of politics and tax the shit out of them. And that's Unpopular Opinions, episode 17. I've been your humble host, Johnny O. If you enjoyed today's show, please give me a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down is perfectly okay. Leave me a comment down below with your unpopular opinions. I really do enjoy reading your comments and responding to the ones that I get a chance to respond to. I try and take time to respond to all the comments, though I don't always get around to it. I apologize. If you want to support the show monetarily, you can do so at www.patreon.com/theplothole1. That's the number 1, not the O-Neaters. I'm still about 5 patrons away from just ejecting that joke, putting that joke in the garbage bin where it belongs. Once I hit that 25 patron mark, I'll stop telling that shit joke, and I'll have a raffle for a shirt, a mug, and a couple of little goodies for the kiddies. We'll see what happens. If you can't support the show monetarily, I completely understand. It's December. It's the stuff. I get it. A simple like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, that helps me get out there, helps me with the algorithm. If you would do me a favor sharing this on all your socials, that's all the support I really need. That helps the algorithm, gets me out there, and I much appreciate it. Quick announcement, yours truly will be on the Weekend Horror Podcast this coming up Wednesday. It's going to be recorded live, which is going to be fun. It'll be on YouTube. I'll leave a card right there. Do be sure to leave them a subscription if you haven't done so already. Also, be sure to subscribe to the Four Beardsmen channel, which I'll leave a link to here, somewhere. I'll leave links to all these down in the description below. Subscribe to that channel. That's where the new Four Beardsmen show is going to be on every Sunday, wherever time. I don't know. Check your local listings. Yay. Anyway, I'm Johnny O. And remember, keep your opinions unpopular, baby.